Welfare. It's a term that I'm sure many of you have heard of, but what exactly is welfare, who pays for it, and how does it concern me? Well, welfare was established during the 1930s and the Great Depression to help families in times of need who had little to no income, as reported on welfareinfo.org. In the 1990s, many Americans were unhappy with the welfare system, claiming that people were staying unemployed when they could easily find jobs and they were also having more children to receive greater benefits. So in 1996, President Clinton reformed welfare. Today, with the unemployment rates at an all-time high, many people are having to go back on welfare. And in fact, the 2010 U.S. Census Bureau reports that there are more than 114.8 million families in the United States, and 34.2% of them were receiving welfare benefits. According to my audience survey, many of you were unclear as to how welfare is paid for. Well, since welfare is a federally funded program, it is paid for by taxpayer money. So basically, if you work, whether you knew it or not, you've been paying for welfare, and that is how it affects you. So today, we're going to take a closer look at what welfare is in relation to transitional aid for families with dependent children. We're going to look at the problem with the misuse of its funds, and lastly, we're going to look at a proposed solution to drug test all recipients in all states. So now let's start by looking at what exactly transitional aid to families with dependent children is. As reported by the HHS.gov, or the Department of Health and Human Services, transitional aid to families with dependent children is a block grant program that was established to help recipients go from a state of benefits into a state of work and turn welfare into a temporary assistance program. Keyword, temporary. As mentioned earlier, President Clinton reformed welfare in 1996, giving the power back to the states. The $22 billion program is providing financial support to 14 million persons, including more than 9 million children, as reported on PubMed, a National Center for Biotechnical Information as part of the U.S. National Library of Medicine. So who is eligible to receive these benefits? According to my audience survey, there was only one person who knew of any of the qualifications to receive these benefits. So the benefits are as follows, as reported on the U.S. Census Bureau's website. 1. There must be a child under the age of 18 in the family or a pregnant woman. 2. They must be deprived of financial support by one of their parents due to a death, continued absence, or the incapacity, which would mean that if there was a two-parent family home, if the primary caregiver was unemployed. They must be a resident of the state in which they live in, and they also must be a legal U.S. citizen or if an alien lawfully permitted to reside in the U.S. So now that you have some general knowledge about welfare and the amount of the population receiving the benefits, let's look at the problem. Now, the problem with welfare today is the misuse of its funds. According to my audience survey, 90% of you agree that the welfare system is being abused, but there are still very many that disagree, stating that the misuse of the funds is not a problem or it's not a big enough problem. So let's look at some facts to discuss how big the problem actually is. In the article entitled Obama's America, Unmaking the American Dream by Dinesh D'Souza, the U.S. Census Bureau averaged the annual payment per family to be roughly $11,500 per year. D'Souza continues in her article, estimating that if we were only to have the 2 to 3% fraud rate, as many people report, it would still end up costing taxpayers between $9 and $13.5 billion each year because of the vast number of recipients receiving the benefits. Countless stories are also being reported all the time on the misuse of its funds. For example, WMC-TV, a broadcasting station in Memphis, Tennessee, broke a story in June of 2012 on wasted taxpayer money. There's hundreds of dollars going on to purchases at liquor stores, Graceland concert tickets, and theater tickets, and that's only a few examples. Also, in the article entitled Welfare Fraud and Abuse, a State-by-State Sampling by Todd Shepard from the Colorado Observer, On July 26, 2012, he reported various offenses by the state. One particular sticking out in my mind is in the state of California, where there were $12 million in EBT funds withdrawn in Las Vegas. People on welfare are supposed to be in troubled times. They are to use these funds to provide food, clothes, and shelter to their families and their children, not spend hundreds on liquor store purchases, concert tickets, and gamblings. And how much of our taxpayer money is going to purchases like this? How much is going to illegal purchases that we can't see? If we don't drug test and drug test randomly, we will never be able to find this answer out. So this brings me to my next point, a proposed solution to the problem, and that would be random drug testing. People applying for benefits should be able to pass a drug test prior to enrollment and also randomly while receiving benefits. All government and military employees that receive a paycheck from the government must first pass a drug test and are subject to random drug tests without any notice. Since these recipients are receiving federal money, they should also fall under the same guidelines as government and military employees. According to A.G. Sulzberger in the article stating adding drug tests as a hurdle for welfare benefits in the New York Times, published on October 10, 2011, the American Civil Liberty Union is issued a lawsuit against Florida and their new law of enrollment drug testing. They are claiming that it is an invasion of privacy and illegal search and seizure and imposing on their Fourth Amendment rights. Sulzberger also continues saying that with the new law passed, Florida has been at its lowest enrollment level in the past 10 years. Now my question to you is that if it is an illegal search and seizure of people receiving free money from the government to pass a drug test, how is it not an illegal search and seizure for the government and military employees? They have a personal life as well. So, my call to you today is to put a stop to welfare fraud. Make your voice count and vote when called upon. Report any fraud or suspicious behavior to your local welfare office. Even if a parent is found to be fraudulent in the system, the child will not lose its benefits and they will continue to receive their funds through a third-party source. So now that we've looked at the problem and the solution, in conclusion, I hope that you now have a clearer understanding as to what aid to transitional families really is. I have explained the problem with the system and the misuse of its funds, and I have also discussed a proposed solution to fix the problem with the random and enrollment drug testing for all recipients in all states. I ask you to now take a deeper look at yourself and reflect at the welfare system and where your tax dollars are going. Do you truly want to help the needy families, or do you want to enable the abuser who now creates a pattern for their children? It's time to take the crutch away from those abusing the system and make them stand on their own to learn what the value of a hard day's work is.